This is your brain. This is...
What the f?
Beef juice in the house. This is your brains on drugs. Oh, shit, son.
Yo, what are you doing?
Come on, dude. It's a special occasion. It's 420, bro.
Listen, how many times do I have to tell you? You can do that outside or in the basement. I get out of here. I gotta record for this video.
Whatever, man. You kill my vibes anyway.
Yeah, there's really not much to say or explain. It's just those 420 episodes. Or I guess weed-related episodes from shows that don't have anything to do with marijuana. The Devil's Lettuce. That Sticky Icky. Let's get into it. But before that, fast forward a couple of days later, and I came up with a beautiful, genius idea. Since it was a slight struggle to summarize some of these episodes in an instant way. Plus, there's not that many to talk about. So I thought, why not get the help from ChatGPT? And boy, I'm glad I did, because it turned out to be something truly special and 100 times better than what I expected. So how this is gonna go is I'm going to get my usual summary of the episode. Then I'm gonna tell you ChatGPT summary of the episode. This should be very interesting. Now we can start this. Saved by the Bell's 420. No, it's weed episode. I don't really know how I'm gonna transition to these. Anyways, this is the only serious episode in here where it has that drugs are bad theme, but that doesn't mean there's not some goofy and questionable moments. So I'll just quickly summarize it. You have Bayside High being scouted by big shot movie star Johnny Dakota. After hitting it off with Zach and taking an interest in Kelly, Johnny decides this is where they're gonna shoot the anti-drug commercial. While Zach and Slater are in the bathroom, they smell pot. Slater notices a joint on the floor. As they're discussing what to do about it, Johnny walks in. They panic and try to explain the situation. Johnny believes them. He tells them that he wants to use them in the commercial. Later on, Johnny invites the gang to a party he's having. While they're having a good time, dumbass Screech somehow hurts his back. Most of the gang are ready to go home, so they carry him away. They tell Kelly to stay. Zach says he'll be back. Yeah, while we wait for him to come back, it turns out Johnny smokes weed. Kelly is shocked. They try to pressure her into taking a hit, but she doesn't want to. Zach returns in disbelief. He thinks it's time for the both of them to go home. The next day, Zach tries to convince Johnny to not do the commercial, since it feels wrong and hypocritical. But he doesn't listen, so Zach and the gang drop out from doing the commercial. Okay, so what's ChatGPT's summary of the episode? In No Hope for Dope, the gang at Bayside High finds themselves on a mission to bust a drug ring after finding a bag of marijuana in Zach's locker. Along the way, they encounter shady characters, comical misunderstandings, and a surprisingly insightful lesson about the dangers of peer pressure and the importance of standing up for what's right. Okay, so I said, tell me a little more. In No Hope for Dope, the plot thickens when Zach discovers a bag of marijuana in his locker, which he claims isn't his. However, the principal, Mr. Belden, doesn't believe him and calls the police to investigate. Determined to clear his name and find out who put the drugs in his locker, Zach enlists the help of his friends to go undercover and investigate a known drug dealer at the school. As they delve deeper into the case, they encounter a variety of hilarious situations, including Slater accidentally getting high. Including Slater accidentally getting high and Screech accidentally getting mistaken for a drug dealer. However, the episode also takes a serious turn when they discover that one of their classmates, who had been acting strangely, is addicted to drugs and needs help. Are they talking about Jets? Who are they talking about? Ultimately, the gang manages to expose the drug ring and save their friend from the dangers of addiction. All in all, No Hope for Dope is a quintessential Saved by the Bell episode. Bro, what? You know, that sounds like a fire episode. I need that. Yo, I need that ASAP. Now, this episode, I don't really have too much to say about it. It's just a standard episode of don't do drugs. It's not cool. It even ends with a PSA.
There's no hope with dope.
But what stood out to me and was a real eyesore was how much of a complete weirdo and cornball Johnny was. What I want to know is how old the character's supposed to be, because it's pretty creepy how thirsty he was for a high schooler. Bro, what the fuck? Wait, hold on. Wait. How? Like, this man, he seemed like a grown man, and he just sitting here just you know, it just a little weird. I don't know. Other than that, there were some enjoyable dumb moments.
Hey, I'll be in the bathroom giving some nerd a mohawk.
Next episode, Dinosaurs 420 episode. Yes, you heard that right. You're probably thinking, the show about anthropomorphic dinosaurs? I know. You know, it's funny. I just talked about the show in its weirdest episode. Go watch that video if you haven't. So you have Robbie's father, Earl, trying to cut Robbie's spikes because he thinks he looks like a girl and a bum.
Like a girl bum.
As they continue to argue about it, Robbie gets fed up with his father's complaints about the things he does. So he leaves. He goes to the woods with Spike. He tells Spike that he's never going back. He'll just live out here. As they're looking for food, Robbie comes across a weird colored plant. He thinks it could be poisonous, but after Spike says it doesn't taste like it, he tries some.
1 hour later.
Yeah, they become very happy and are laughing uncontrollably at nothing. Now that Robbie's in such high spirits, he goes to tell his dad how much he loves him and apologizes. He even brought him a gift, the plant that made him very happy. His father doesn't believe the plant made him this happy, but he tries it anyways.
The next day.
After goofing around, Earl finally heads to work. His co-workers tell him that their boss has been looking for him. Earl gives them and his boss a happy plant. As his boss is wondering as to why he is 4 hours late, he decides to just fire him. Ecstatic about this, Earl kisses his boss on the mouth.
Hey, yo!
Yeah, so from this point, everything goes downhill. Robbie's mother, Fran, gets concerned for how carefree her family has become. She drags Earl go down to where he used to work to try to get his job back. But they all consume the heavy plan Earl gave them, so it's kind of pointless, especially as they're talking to the boss. He gets a call from the higher up saying he's fired. After this, Fran decides to leave with Baby Sinclair until the family cleans their act up. So what do? They go to the woods to try to find some more of that happy plant. But after seeing how Spike is under the influence of the plant, they burn it. Okay, ChatGPT's version of this episode. Yeah, unfortunately it was lackluster, so it wasn't worth including it. By the way, this was a show for young kids. Also, this episode was removed from Disney Plus, but yet they were fine with leaving the steroids episode. That not only is about abusing the use of a muscle enhancer, but also teaches with what could potentially be domestic abuse. Which begs the question, how the hell does no one know about this plant? You know, at first I was worried as to where the typical symptoms, or I guess the traits that people have when they get stoned, but they are there. They have the munchies, to them having stone thoughts where they break the fourth wall, which was perfectly done.
What do you mean, son?
Well, I mean like all the time. By secret cameras hidden in the walls. Like there. Or there. Or there.
What is this fourth break? And of course we have Earl's nut-ass paranoid coworker who thinks everyone is talking about him.
You're not talking about me here, aren't you? Huh?
No, Ed.
What?
Please
What do
leave
you
us alone.
I was saying, what do you want? I know what you want.
But after I go, you'll talk about me,
Bro,
won't you?
get your goofy ass. Yo.
Man, be cool.
Obviously, this has to end with a PSA.
So come on, say no to drugs. It's up to you to make a difference.
Honestly, for the kind of show this is, this episode was my favorite out of what I watched, and probably the best for 420. Next episode, the Simpsons 420 episode, you have Homer who somehow becomes a leader for a flock of crows. But after they carry Maggie into the air and not really listen to the rules he's trying to set, he gets angry and tries to shoo them away. So what do? They retaliate and attack him. I think even one of them pecks his dick. So after visiting the hospital, Dr. Hibbert prescribes him medicinal marijuana for his eyes and the pain. Honestly, after this point, he just becomes a pothead. He's just trying to live his best life. He can now joyfully listen to Lisa play her saxophone. He listens to Ned, who reads the whole Bible to him. It greatly benefits him at work since he gets promoted because he's able to laugh at Mr. Burns' terrible jokes. But there's just one problem. Since Homer's always smacked out of his mind, he didn't realize why he had Ned inside his home. He signed a petition to outlaw medical marijuana. So he holds a concert to go against outlawing it. Now, I don't know if it's because Homer's an idiot or if it's because he's always high. Could be both, but this was the day after the voting took place. So the police burn all the medical marijuana, and Homer promises his family he'll never do it again. Okay, ChatGPT's version of this episode. In Weekend at Bernsey, Homer gets Dr. Hibbert to prescribe him medicinal marijuana after a workplace accident. He soon becomes a stereotypical stoner, but when Mr. Burns catches him getting high, he fires Homer. Wow. To make things worse, Homer accidentally runs over Mr. Burns, and in a panic enlists Bart and Lisa to help him cover it up. Bro, what? Yo. Hilarity ensues as they try to make it look like Mr. Burns is still alive and attending various events, including a charity race and a jazz festival. Along the way, they encounter a group of hippies who help them hide Mr. Burns in a psychedelic van. The episode's a hilarious satire on the stoner culture and the lengths people will go to cover up their mistakes. Or what the fuck? Now this episode, I'm not gonna lie, I don't really have any thoughts on it. It's a good episode. It's trippy, funny, and I did not expect Homer to be high for the majority of it. On to the next. The Boondocks 420 episode. You got Riley and Huey broke the TV by getting the remote stuck in it somehow. As Granddad is yelling at the two of them, he starts to have a heart attack. I don't know, it's kind of hard to tell when he's being a little over dramatic, and he can't really discern where the pain is coming from. It's his chest. No, it's his stomach. His liver is exploding. No, wait, it's his bad knee. Anyways, he goes to the hospital for a checkup. The doctor prescribes him a bunch of pills to help with his stress. The next day, Doug Nivison delivers Granddad an ungodly amount of pills the doctor recommended. Doug Nivison says, screw taking all those bullshit ass pills the pharmaceutical companies try to sell to you. All he needs is this. He's a little hesitant and unsure. Then Riley comes into the room, so Granddad panics and ends up taking the joint. A few moments later, after hearing about all the awful side effects one of the pills has, Granddad says fuck that and decides to head to the park to light up the joint. It's life changing. He's happier, he cooks up a feast for breakfast, and he doesn't get upset when the boys break the TV again. The boys even think he may be an imposter. Granddad reassures them that he just had a wake up call, that he's not gonna sweat the small stuff. Yeah, from here it just goes downhill. Granddad gets caught being booty butt naked during his bongo night. What? You know what? It's his house. He promises the boys he's never gonna smoke weed ever again.
So that was a fucking lie.
The next day, Granddad gets arrested for driving under the influence. He pleads not guilty because Doug Nivison told him that Obama legalized weed in the state. Obviously, that was a lie. Since this was his first offense, he's free to go. But when he tries to protest for his plot to be freed, he gets arrested again. He gets served 3 weeks of house arrest, 2 years of probation, and thrown some community service for fun. Okay, ChatGPT summary of this episode. In the Boondocks episode, Mr. Medicinal, Granddad decides to start selling a new herbal supplement that promises to cure all ailments. But when the supplement turns out to be nothing more than weed, things get a little hazy. Oh, I bet they do. Oh, for sure, dude. With the help of Uncle Ruckus, Granddad becomes a successful drug dealer. Yo. until the arrival of a real medicinal marijuana dispensary threatens to put him out of business. That is run by Mrs. Von Hausen, or however you say her name. I don't remember. As Granddad's profits soar, he becomes increasingly greedy and reckless, causing problems for himself and those around him. Yada yada, and the rest is just some boring stuff. I do like this last part though. Whether you're a fan of marijuana culture or just looking for a good laugh, Mr. Medicinal is sure to entertain. Now this episode, at the beginning when they break the TV, it was fucking hilarious how Granddad was like, you know what? I'm tired of being goddamn asses. How about y'all whoop each other? Go at it. Which is crazy, but low key, that's real. Also, why did one of the strains of cannabis have Granddad floating? What kind of wizardry, demonic shit they got going on? Next. And finally, South Park's 420 episode. I feel like we all should remember this one, so I don't need to spend too much time on it. Basically, Randy discovers that the KFC in town was replaced by a medical marijuana dispensary. He's ecstatic. He's like a little kid in a candy store. But obviously, without a doctor's reference, he can't get anything. So he goes to a doctor for a checkup and to hopefully get a prescription. But since he's healthy, he can't get one. Randy tries a few different ways to give himself cancer. He's sunbathing, smoking cigs. He has cell phones taped to his head. He somehow has an x-ray machine. Like, where the fuck do you even get something like that? He tries to eat a bunch of frozen and processed food. But when he reads that this can take years to develop cancer, he starts to read up on testicular cancer. He finds out that they haven't figured out the cause for it, except that exposure to high doses of radiation can make it grow faster. So he gets the most insane idea to stick his balls into the microwave to rapidly speed up the process. The next morning, Randy wakes up to some discomfort in his lower groin area. He moves the covers to reveal his humongous nuts. Finally, he isn't healthy anymore. With his prescription, Randy's able to live his best life smoking weed without having to worry about the law. He gets creative and turns his huge balls into a hoppy hop. Apparently, the chicks dig big balls, especially his wife. He even convinces his friends to put their sacks into the microwaves so that they're all able to be hopping around in public smoking weed. But all good things must come to an end since there's way too many people going to the doctor's office with huge nuts. So medicinal weed becomes illegal again and KFC is brought back because it supposedly has medicinal properties since before it was removed. Now the man had testicular cancer. Also, Randy has his excess sack skin turned to a code for sharing. Nice. Okay, ChatGPT's version of this episode. In Medicinal Fried Chicken, South Park takes on the hot button issue of medical marijuana. As Carmen tries to get a prescription for his anxiety and opens up a KFC style dispensary. Meanwhile, Randy, who has a testicular cancer scare, okay, so that's still the same, discovers the joys of being high and starts a profitable business smuggling drugs from California. Okay. The episode's a hilarious critique of the legal and ethical complications of medical marijuana, with plenty of laughs and absurdity along the way. Plus, who knew that fried chicken and weed could make such a perfect combo, yo? That's a fucking crazy sentence. Of course, I asked it to tell me more. Carmen becomes obsessed with getting a medical marijuana prescription, seeing it as a way to get high legally. He tricks his way into prescription by faking anxiety and starts selling weed out of his apartment. Yo, what? What do you mean he tricks his way to get a prescription by faking anxiety and starts selling weed out of his apartment, which he has converted into a KFC style restaurant called KFC Convent? What, bro? He had his own apartment. He lived on his own. Bro, what? Yo, what's going on here? Now this episode, thankfully, this isn't one of the controversial ones like how most of the show is. It's a sight to behold, seeing how badly Randy wanted to give himself cancer. He was really trying to speedrun the fuck out of getting cancer by any means. He's psychotic. I got it. Put my nuts. Yo, what the? Yo, passing by your dad with his fucking sack in the microwave is just. Yo, what do you even do? Yo, you might have to fight your dad. Like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? Look, it gets to the point where he's even struggling to get his nuts through the door, which is a crazy thing to say. Also, I didn't talk about the other part of the episode. That's a parody of Scarface, which now that I'm thinking about it, it's wild how you have the adults having fun with their weed. Then you have Carmen, who's basically acting like a drug lord with his addition to KFC, and how he's smuggling it since it was banned in Colorado. Look, he even cuts it up and snorts it. Like, come on, what the fuck is going on? Good episode though. Now before I start wrapping this up, because like I said in the beginning, there ain't that many episodes to talk about, but I do have 3 other episodes I want to mention real quick. The first one, that 70s show. Obviously the show's about teenagers constantly getting high, so it's kind of pulling to throw it in here. But there's an episode where the parents get high by accident because there were some special brownies left in the oven. So Eric's parents and Donna's parents scarfed them down. Then you know, a couple minutes later, they are zooted out their goddamn minds. They have the little stoner circle. Red ends up selling Eric's car. Kitty reveals that Red may be a grouch, but he has a good stroke game. That's so random. They do get the car back because it was a piece of shit anyways. I don't know, seeing Red smack was enjoyable, and him trying to remember who he sold the car to was funny as hell. But what takes the cake is at the very end where Kitty and Red is just dogging a whole bunch of food. It was a very interesting sight. The second episode I want to quickly mention, Curb Your Enthusiasm. The smoke another Mary Jane doesn't happen until towards the end of the episode, which is truly unfortunate. Overall, the episode is funny. It just would have made it even more hilarious if it happened a little earlier on. But once they do start, Larry begins to tweet the fuck out. He's arguing with himself in the mirror, or maybe his reflection is pressing him. Honestly, it could be the latter. His father's having a good time since the weed is helping with his glaucoma, though he doesn't realize until his eyes adjust that his son brought over a prostitute. And then there's the moment where Larry goes to buy the weed. He might have gotten scammed, but it was nonetheless an interesting transaction. But the wildest thing about this episode is when Larry trying to get out of jury duty.
I don't know if I could be impartial, Mr. Condon, given that the defendant is a Negro.
Yo. Yo. What the? Yo. Yo, that's insane. What the fuck? And the sad thing is that's what people really do. In the last episode, I want to quickly mention, even though I really shouldn't, but it's Office. I'm just gonna say it. This show is borderline ass. I just can't get into it. I thought an episode about Dwight finding a doobie in the parking lot would have been entertaining, but it's not. It's just boring. Not even ChatGPT can make this episode sound interesting. It was basically the same, except that Michael found the joint instead of Dwight. And I'm just gonna stop myself there because if I don't, I'll just go on a tangent. Well, that's everything I had to talk about. This felt somewhat different from what I typically do in this series, which I guess is a good thing because you can go back to the first video in this series and you can see how different it's becoming. Honestly, I expected there to be some really wild moments in these episodes, but for the most part, they're relatively tame. Now, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are you gonna be blowing it down smoking doobies later? Or just leave a random comment. So with that, I do hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, share with your pothead coworker, plug, neighbor, or who you ever get high with. Other than that, I'm out. Peace.